I see purpose as the thing that each of us is uniquely called to do, right? So I believe that each of us has a calling that God or the universe, whatever it is you believe, has bestowed upon your life. And I think most people never take the time and ask the questions to get to the place where they understand what that is.
Welcome to Lovely Esteem. I'm Lovely, the auntie you always wanted, the sister girlfriend you didn't know you needed, honey. You got to have self-love to have self-esteem. And here we know that God don't make no junk. So we're going to sit down, talk about it, and see how we can fix it, baby. Let's do it. Hey guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome back to a new week on Healing Through Conversations. We have a great episode today. I get to speak with Miss Sydney Ryker. Miss Sydney Ryker is a motivational speaker. She travels all over the world talking to people about transforming their lives, loving to empower and give women hope, helping them understand their truest selves, really helping women shine so they can have it all, but they don't need any of it. That's her slogan, y'all. I love it. Miss Ryker has a wonderful resume, but I think what I enjoyed the most so far about her was her ability to connect with her audience. I was able to be a part of a presentation that she gave, and she was so authentic, so open, so honest, so transparent, but still detail-oriented, very professional and warm. And I know that I'll probably use the word warm throughout this podcast season so much, but when we're talking about being more than a woman, which is the theme for the podcast this season, we're talking about your spiritual self, your emotional self, your physical self, your intellectual self, your physical self, your mental health. We're talking about your sexual self, your sexuality. All of these things we are a part of, that we're created to be. But in combination with that, we're also still mothers, wives, lovers, friends, cousins, aunts, sisters, sister girlfriends, her, him, them, they. We're all of these things. And we still stay connected in this very spiritual way, in this very energetic way, in this very pure and loving way. And I love that. So enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome to the Healing Through Conversations podcast. Today, I'm so proud of this lady, and we just met only just recently, but I was able to listen to a presentation that she gave, Miss Sydney Ryker. She gave this presentation about what does your story mean to you, but how can you deliver your story to others in a more compassionate way that drew them into your life and made them see you for who you are. I was like, okay, I love it. I love it. But whenever we're talking about like public speaking, transformational speakers, I think sometimes we get so where it feels overwhelming, because standing in front of a bunch of people and having a conversation, it can probably send you to a tailspin. However, the way Sydney did it, she made it so that you were one track minded, you were thinking about yourself, and then you thought about how you would talk to your best friend or how you would talk to your mom to give them that message, and it made it less overwhelming. And I love that. So welcome to the podcast, Sydney. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for that amazing, I guess, affirmation. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I love what you're doing. I just love your energy. And yeah, we're going to have a fun time today.
Thank you so much. So introduce us to you. Tell us all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm Sydney Ryker. I got started in the entrepreneurial space as a female founder back when I was 21 years old, fresh out of college. Moved across the country on a one-way ticket from Montana, small town in Montana, out to Cali, and found a mentor, moved in with her, and really hit the ground running as an entrepreneur. Built multiple businesses in the sales space. So I was helping and mentoring a lot of people at a very young age. So I got to step into not only sales for myself, but also developing other people within sales and really stepping into leadership. And by the time I was, 24, 25, I was a top earner in the company that I was a part of, just making some great money. And because of that, the person at the front of the room, makes the money. The one holding the mic makes the money. And so I really got an opportunity to step into that public speaking ring really, really early, with a very low risk attached, right? It wasn't big paid speaking gig. So I got to get up there and I got to fail a lot and I got to mess up a lot, got to learn how to share my story, got to learn how to present very professionally. After I left that company, I started and founded another agency where we were doing a lot of sales and recruiting training. So we would recruit sales reps for companies for high ticket offers. We would train them on the back end. But I kind of just found that it wasn't what I was like super passionate about. I was like, it's just not right. Like I love what we're doing, but I don't love doing it every single day. And so I took a few months and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go figure out what the heck I'm going to do. And I actually found my way to a monk. And this monk, his name is Mitch. He actually used to be an engineer at NASA. He worked on the Hubble Space Project, and now he's like a monk, and he supports these very high level people in the space, to really help them in, returning to what he calls true nature. And so I decided to really dive in about 3 years ago, sitting with this man. And it's led to so much transformation, but it's also led to a lot of alignment in what I'm currently doing. And so now what I'm currently doing is I public speak. I'm currently writing a book, but I really get to share on a variety of topics. I'm a spokeswoman for selfpublishing.com, which you mentioned. We partnered up with Entrepreneurship, which is an amazing community. And then I also do a lot of keynotes. I do a lot of public speaking, but really just getting to share story, share inspiration, share motivation, but also for me, selfishly, one of the big things that I'm passionate about is really paying forward what I'm learning with my mentor, Mitch, because a lot of people don't have access to him. He's never going to be on social media. He's a 60-year-old dude in Colorado, right? And I really want to be able to make that information accessible to all and just kind of be a vehicle for that, because it's been so transformative for me. So that's a little bit about me and what I'm doing.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you're continuing your journey and that you're taking the knowledge that you have. I think sometimes when we think about high level jobs, high level entrepreneurs, it feels like you're never going to be able to talk to anybody. You're never going to be able to, there's like this ceiling that a lot of people kind of look up and they're like, well, how do I get to the next place? And Healing Through Conversations was created because, one, I needed to hear some things. And I believe that conversation is the best way to heal a lot of things, because we just learn so much from the smallest. It's always like the very end of a conversation, or like something that was so minute, right? It wasn't even like a big thing that planted a seed and gave you either permission, affirmation, or it confirmed that it wasn't good for you in a way that doesn't always feel like you're being attacked or that you are being reprimanded. Because I know that we all go on defense. The minute we feel attacked, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And some of us need to be attacked.
100%. We do.
Need to be attacked because we're literally blocking our own blessings. We're creating these walls that won't allow us to align, like you said, align with your purpose. And I think that when people hear align with your purpose, they're like, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? And that was one of the conversations you had the other day with regards to the self-publishing. You were walking people through this whole idea of figuring out who you were in a very genuine, organic way. And that was so wonderful. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important. I was actually talking to someone else about this today, because they're like, well, if someone's in a corporate job, like they've maybe never felt what it feels like to be super aligned with what they're doing and to wake up on fire and living a life by design. And so it can be kind of a scary or foreign feeling. And I've been, I think, very blessed to have only gotten to experience almost exclusively living a life by design. There was like a 2-week stint where I was working for someone else, and it was the only time I had ever done that. And it felt like I was in prison. Right? It felt like I was in prison in my own way, because I was it was so foreign to me. But I think that, even if someone can't fully quit their 9 to 5, right, and step into their next thing, that's totally fine. It's how can you continue to live authentically when you're able to, and in what you do. How can you bring your true self, the ways you like to operate, into the workspace, into your everyday life, right? And not always form and conform to our environment, but really stick to who we truly are and bring that to the environment. And if that environment doesn't like that, then you're not of value there, quite frankly, right? It's like, I think that's a big thing. So anyways,
No, look, you could have stayed on this, you could have stayed on the soapbox because you hit the nail right on the head. I was having a conversation today about how when you want to be at the top of your game, you have to think like an entrepreneur. Even when you work in the corporate space, you have to create a niche for yourself, a need for yourself, and you have to find fulfillment outside of your job so that that peace and that energy follows you wherever you go. Because if you're unhappy at home, for whatever reason, it follows you. So then when you come to work, the people that you touch are touched by that energy that you have.
Yeah.
And I think that we sometimes just get stuck in the space where this isn't my place. Like, I don't own this. This doesn't belong to me.
Totally.
Right. And a lot of the times it does, because you can work in a space where they make you feel like this isn't mine. Like, this isn't yours. You're just here working for me. Do your job and go home. Right. And that's where you're miserable, so miserable. But having this space in your head, like a compartment in your head where you own your piece of that, can change. And that's transformative. And I developed that probably like 37. It took me to about 37 to be like, oh, I get to change this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Totally. Yeah. And you get to bring that to your sector. And what that will do if you stay true to whoever you are and bring the energy to whatever it is you're doing in your work, even if it is for someone else, it's like people will feel that are beneath, structurally beneath you, and above you. Your managers will feel that. They'll feel like you're stepping into more ownership and leadership. And that never hurts, but it also inadvertently trickles into the organization and into the company, right? And I think it's powerful when people can really step into that, even if it's like not their job or they're not getting paid for it, for sure.
So help us understand purpose, right? How you see purpose, your definition of purpose.
I see purpose as the thing that each of us is uniquely called to do, right? So I believe that each of us has a calling that God or the universe, whatever it is you believe, has bestowed upon your life. And I think most people never take the time and ask the questions to get to the place where they understand what that is. And even beyond take the time or ask the questions, it's they never uncover the layer of trauma or healing that the purpose lives beneath, right? It's like to find my purpose, and my purpose is going to continue to evolve. I don't even know what my end purpose is yet. None of us really do, right? Yep. But what I realized is I asked all the right questions for years, but I hadn't healed the layer of trauma and dug in deep enough and kept moving forward in that direction to really get to the place where I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And finally, I'm at the place where I'm like, oh, okay, like connecting the dots backwards. But I think it's the purpose is the thing that we all feel a longing, I think. Sometimes we want to avoid it, we stuff it down, but like all of us feel we're humans. This is a part of being a human, is having core wounds of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, and feeling unlovable. That is being human. And we cover it up with things: love, sex, money, attention, TV, food, drugs, like just being real.
Yeah.
And it's only when we take all those things away and then we actually do the work to feel those feelings of unworthiness and unlovability and face them, that we can then move through it, because we faced it. We faced the fear, and now we're moving through it, and now we can find our purpose. And the people who have really found that have done that work.
I love that. I love that. And I will say, for me, I uncovered part of my purpose. I still think I have so much more, because there are times where I have to you'll have an idea and it's so strong. Like you have to write it down right now. You have to, like, in the middle of a conversation, 1 second. Yes. And you just need to get it, which can be kind of cumbersome to somebody else. They're like, wait, I can't talk to you. But you're like, It just hit me
Don't
and I
say
have to,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for me, a big part of working on my inner child, that was huge for me, connecting
Mhm.
my inner child with grief. Because I think sometimes we push the grief down and we make the assumption that grief has to be this, it had to be a big deal, right? It had to be this big disappointment in order for us to cry or express
Right.
it. And for me, like I celebrate grief. I turn grief into triumph. That is my big thing. And I work on continuously grieving openly every day because different things happen to you. And
Every
sometimes your
day.
grief is saying, I really wanted to fit into that dress. And I'm so sad I didn't fit into that dress. Or it's, I wanted to have breakfast with you and I couldn't have breakfast with you. And I feel
Right.
sad about that instead of going, nothing's wrong. It's all fine. Because fine is another brick.
Yep.
It's okay is
Yep.
another brick. And I'm like, at some point when you exhale, what's going to come out is the monster, right?
Yep.
And
Oh
now the
yeah.
person is being screamed at for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, I just asked you if
Yep.
we could have peanut butter cookies, not chocolate chip."
Totally. And that's what we do. That's what we do as humans. We just stuff it down, we stuff it down, and then we die at 40 of a heart attack, right? It's like as untrue and as true as that is,
Yes.
it's even this morning, what I've actually learned through sitting with this monk, like more than anything, is to actually feel my feelings. Montana, you don't feel nothing, right? So actually learning to feel my feelings. And when things arise, I was on a walk this morning and I had tears coming out of my eyes and I didn't make it wrong. I just let them flow. And I was like, I don't know what's going on right now, but we're just going to let it flow. I feel emotional. Came back, I sat down, I meditated and I cried a little bit more. And then I moved on with my day. But if I stuff that down, I see it as a future loss for myself and it stopping me from getting to where I want to go. If I don't just face it now, it's way easier than stuffing it down and then erupting on my partner in 10 years, right?
Yes. And I always say that like it's just one of those culturally. I'm a Black woman. I try to speak for all Black women just because that's what I know.
Yeah.
You don't grieve. You don't feel. You don't allow
Totally.
people to see you with any emotion. You keep that stark face. You hold yourself together. If you're
Yep.
going to cry, you better make sure that nobody's around. You cry
100%.
quiet, silent tears. You get your face together and you come back out with your game face on and you get your shit done. The
Yep.
end, right? And
Yep.
then you realize that, okay, it's not a Black thing. Like you start looking at the women around you and you start really like enjoying the lady who's crying. You're like, oh my God, you're crying. Like, tell me how it feels. Like, what's
Yes.
going on? Are they pure tears? Because if it's we need
Mm-hmm.
real tears because you just crying to cry. We don't understand. But,
Exactly.
but just being in that space where you allow yourself, like you said, the emotion comes, your body instantly reacts. You either sweat or you get that like feeling where you always say to me, it used to be when my underarms would itch, like my nervous system would be
Yep.
all over the place.
Activated.
And I would
Yep.
be like, okay, how do I get it to go away? And now I'm just like,
Let it
I hope these
go.
lashes stay on. I hope this binder is really working well because
I know I was pissed this morning because I had just put on makeup. I was like, don't do this right now. It's the only reason I'm not trying to cry so I can save my makeup.
but that's the thing. And I think that for us, once you get to that place where you can, and it's not that it happens every day, like we'll be very honest. Every day you are not as deep into your emotions because sometimes you're like, I have things to do. And
Oh, yeah.
I really don't have time for me right now. Like I just,
Yeah.
if you
Yep.
can get me to 8:45, I will let you out, but you have to just
Exactly.
stay in there. And I think that's where like self-reflection happens and understanding that and being self-aware, like you said earlier, like you knew, I don't know exactly what's happening, but I know it needs to come out right now.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna do the okay.
Get tissue.
I know I tell people I take Q-tips
Yep. Yep. That was a Q-tip
and,
trick.
and drain and
Yeah.
drain and like
That was
okay.
me. But I think that's a really interesting point because with emotion, the first of all, the more we try and get it to stop, the more it's going to build up, and it's just not healthy for us. But also, you don't always know why. And I think a lot of people try and make sense of emotion. And when you just let it flow and you let the emotion flow and you let the thoughts flow, they just kind of go away, right? Slowly they go away. But it's also something I've learned in my experiences when you're aware, right? When we talk about awareness, I think of awareness as like I'm sitting on the bank of the river of my emotions. So I'm watching my emotions. And it's when people think I am the emotion that they get into trouble, because then they're like, oh my God, I'm crying, something's bad, I'm unworthy, right? We go to like catastrophize it. But if we can be, okay, my emotion is happening right now. I'm watching it happen. I am not my emotion. Then we don't get caught up in thinking we are the things we think and then taking action on that, and that becomes our reality. And so I think a good distinction is the emotion is happening. I am not the emotion. I'm aware of the emotion. And when you can have that and you're on the bank of the river of the emotions, it can really support in removing yourself from it so you don't identify with it.
I love, love that, because you are so right. I know that years, I mean, now I probably, like I said, 37 is when I was like, I can't even pretend anymore. I have the pretending is, and I had to let go. And I always say, when you start healing, I was writing journaling today. When you start healing and you get to that lonely space, because there will be a space where you feel like your healing is hindering the relationships around you. It's hindering the energy around you. It's hindering your spirit, right? Yeah. And that's the space where you're really starting to open that portal. You're starting to really walk into that space. But the loneliness is because you aren't connected with other people's honest, raw energy yet. And sometimes it's because you're introducing yourself to a version of yourself that you've never seen. Like, she's never shown up.
Yeah.
And now she's here, and you're like, what do I do with her?
Preach.
How does she, do you still like spaghetti? I mean, do we want tacos? Like, this just fundamental things that we don't think about when we are walking into that healing space, right? And opening ourselves up to that emotion.
Oh yeah, I mean, I literally relate with this so much. To the point where I had to, like, even now I'm like, how do I show up on social media? You know, how do I talk to, I think that's most people, so many of us
we need like the TV needs to shake or something to like,
oh, I mean, even showing up to podcasts, I'm different, but it's like, oh, is that the old me or is that the new, right? It's, you start to, I think the healing process can feel really lonely, but it's like most people stop when it gets lonely or when it gets difficult. It's like, you got to keep moving through it, because as you continue to move through it, you won't care if there's no one around. You're going to be so fine with being by yourself as you heal. You know, these people, right? You'll love them and you care about them, but it's like all that stuff kind of falls away. I think it's I guess deconstructing and reconstructing your identity is like no joke. It's not for the faint of heart. But it's, I mean, it's real work, but it's like so worth it. It's completely reorienting and on the other side, right?
Yeah, it's like changing your algorithm for real. It's like deleting yourself from off the internet and coming back in 12 years.
Literally.
Right? You're like, do we still have docs?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Just like,
are we in Microsoft? Are we Zooming? What's happening?
What's happening? There's no more Teams. We don't need Teams anymore. And that was like, but I know that that's the scary part, because when you've only learned how to trauma bond, and now you have to bond in a healed space, and that is being very honest with yourself and the people around you. That's giving people permission and space to feel their feelings and emotions, even when you are the culprit of the feelings and emotions. You sometimes, I won't lie, I hid. It took me about 2 years to get myself together, because I was like, it felt like I was touching people and spreading madness, because I didn't know how I felt. I couldn't accept all of that energy at the same time and heal me at the same time.
Yes. My teacher says it's when you go through these experiences in ancient lineages, right? people would go into the ashram and they would live there for a year or 2 years, and they would just do the practices. They would heal. They would be in the cave. He calls it. You'd be in the cave. You have your cave time, and you go into the cave. And then as you transform, you come out and you are this new person, but you got to do everything in the cave. And now in today's society and in today's world, it's like we're trying to have these transformations while trying to parent our fucking kids, while taking care of our parents, while working our jobs and trying to make a living as a woman, right? Like all of these things, right? And women have only been able to make their own living for the last 50 years and be in relationships and, you know, take care of ourselves and eat healthy and all the things. And so it's like really difficult because we have all the real life responsibilities, but we do our cave time. And I mean, we come out and it's just like you're thrashed, you got cuts, you got bruises, you got scrapes, right? And you're like, well, let me do my taxes. And you got to go back in the cave and you got to hunker away. And you're like, let me come out and do something else. And and so I think that analogy helped me to think, oh, okay, it's okay if I'm reclusing right now. It's okay if I'm not showing up how I used to, because I will eventually. I just have to stabilize here so that I can reemerge and not get sucked back in to how I was before, right?
I agree. And it's always tell people, I'm like, you have to realize that you are not just, you're not using the same foundation that you had. I said, you're creating a new foundation and you're trying to figure out what are the best materials to use, right? You're learning how to create boundaries. You're learning how to set goals for yourself. But in that, as you start to heal, you'll look around at all the people around you. And the interesting thing is not judging. You're not judging. You're thinking to yourself, I want you to feel what I'm feeling. I want you to feel this good. And I don't want you to suffer because I know what that suffering feels like. And I don't give advice from any space that I've never been in. If I have never experienced it, I'm like, I'm not your girl. Yeah. You should not talk to me. No, I cannot fix your car. I can't
caulk your tub.
I can't tell, you know, like I always tell, I can't tell you, you know, how you feel if you lost your mom. I still have my mom. There are some things that I just, because I really believe that when you put your energy into spaces that did not need you, the negative responses that you get, it's just the world. It's just energy. It's just the way it comes, because it's not pure, right? It's not the pure energy that you needed. But again, it's still hard. Okay. You may lose a wig and an eyelash. You may be crying for days. You'll cut your bangs.
Oh yeah.
Don't ever cut your bangs.
Never cut your bangs. Never grab the scissors. I literally couldn't get out. I told my mentor, I was like, I can't get out of my Christmas pajamas. Like all I wore for like 3 months was Christmas pajamas, and I didn't put on makeup once. It's very normal. I call it my Christmas pajamas and no makeup season.
But I'm telling you, you probably felt so peaceful in between the crazy. You're like,
oh,
why? I didn't know I like this music. Or when did this song come out? Or you're thinking, I thought that it happened this way. In truth, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Or it was really bad and I stayed that long.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then you have to mourn the loss of those things, mourn the loss of the person that you thought you were going to be.
Yeah.
So that you can give birth to this new person. And this new person will have characteristics of the old person. It's all in the same. I love what you said. That simultaneous life. Like when you always tell people, when somebody hurts you, but you love them and you trying to work that out in your head. Yeah. I'm like, you feel crazy. You feel like that shit crazy because you're like, I want to fight you, but I love you. But I love you.
Totally. It's very rare to talk to someone who's really been in that experience, because it is so rare. But I think that's a big one for me that I know a lot of women can relate to is like, I picked up the identity along the way of being the pretty girl, right? And so I had my extensions and I dyed my hair extremely blonde and I wore it stick straight all the time. And in my deconstruction process, like, I don't have interest in doing that anymore. I don't want to color my hair. I want it to grow out naturally. I'm going to take out my extensions. I'm going to wear it curly. I'm going to embrace my natural beauty and get to the place where I can feel comfortable leaving my house without makeup. And that was a big win for me. And so if you're listening and you're like, that identity, like those are the kinds of identities that you can pull away and that will shift and change and transform. And now I have no interest in doing any of that, you know, for me, where I like used to have to feel like I needed to do that to be okay. And so that's how I think, you know, but I'm still myself, right? Just like you said, there's going to be aspects of you that are still there. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see what comes out the other side, right? It's like so cool.
It is
It's
so cool. And I think I was the opposite. I used to be afraid to shine. I was afraid to come from behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I was afraid, like I always had in my head, and what I always tell people, you have to realize, is it your voice that's talking, or is it the person who damned you that's talking? What nugget? And I would always hear, you're doing too much. You're too much. Why are you being so much? You're too much. Why are you so much? Why are you too much? And I'm like, but I love Hollywood glam. I love girly things. I am the person that's in the room, like,
yes,
that's my thing. But it never have I required anybody to be like that to be my friend. If you decide that's not your thing, I want you to rock your shit the way you feel comfortable, because you're going to be beautiful within your own right, with you feeling comfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, it doesn't matter what you have on. You're just going to be uncomfortable. And that's why we see so many of these beautiful people who they expire so early in life, because the things that they've taught themselves that are valuable really weren't the valuable things anymore. And I think that was like a big thing with me. I had to get to a place where I would like go to do a video, and I'm like, do I do the video not like me, and then it's going to come across, or do I be myself and then have the people going, why are you doing so much? It's like, you know, that fight. I so connected with you over the, how do I show up on social media? And my husband was like, he said, you show up as yourself. He was like, babe, this is
but we don't know what that is, because we put on so many masks throughout our life, right? It's like, but I don't know which one it is. Is it the one that I've designed, or is it the one that I am when I'm alone, or is it the one that I am at the office, or is it the one? We don't know, right?
You know, and
that's what we're trying to figure out.
We're trying to figure out. And my big thing was, I was saying earlier today, I said, I'm one of those people that I don't wait, because I'm trying to be proactive all the time and learn. But I was saying, I was like, when you get what you asked for, when either God, your ancestors, the spirit, I said, it feels like you're being tag team and beat, because you asked for these things 3 years ago, right?
Yep.
3 years ago, you were prepared. You were Mike Tyson'd up. You had practice. You knew it was going to happen. And then when it happens and you're caught off guard, you have to have a moment where you're like, I'm going to either free fall and let this happen and be scared and happy and elated and fearful, all of those emotions, or you freeze up, you know, to fight or flight. And I said to my husband, I said, I had 2 ladies from Entrepreneurship reach out to me and was like, I would love to be on your podcast. And I wasn't going to do a podcast season because I had talked myself out of it. I said, wow, what do you have to offer right now? Right? What do you have to offer right now? You're doing more in your education. I was able to write 4 books. So like, I was excited because I love journal books, affirmation books, mantra books, prayer books. And I was like, I'm in my zone. You know, I feel that this is a calling. And I really felt like I woke up in the middle of the night and wrote an outline. Like I was, right. And when that happens, you're like, I can't do anything else. Like I have to do this.
Obsessed.
Right. And then the next thing I know, it's like, you need to post on Entrepreneurship. It was like a voice, like somebody was just standing. And I said, but I don't want to. Like, honest, I said it out loud because I wanted whoever was talking to me in the room to hear me say it, like, no, thank you. Right. And it did not listen to me. So I said, let me post. Wow. And we'll see what happens. 24 interviews. And
oh my God,
in 4 weeks, right?
Oh, that's so exciting.
You guys have blessed me. You have no idea, because what you did was you affirmed the voice that I'm trying. You connected with that healing through conversations, because so many of us, we talk to ourselves, we journal for ourselves, we record videos for ourselves, but we don't realize that everything you're going through, there's a woman, a man, a person, a child who's like, I didn't know you went through that too.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what I connected with you when you were doing your presentation, because I loved when you said, imagine you standing at the top of a mountain and you had one thing you could say to all of these people. What would it be? I was like, Sydney, go sit down, because it is too early in the afternoon for this.
I know, it's like noon.
But I really felt like everybody who was a part of the presentation, they got it. Like, and sometimes it's the layman's conversation, right? It's not all of these big words. It's not just flashing lights and, Hulk Hogan coming out. You're gonna win. It's like moments, moments. And I love that, because I was like, oh wow, okay. It clicked. It was like, I got, okay, all right, Sydney, do your thing.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad that it landed and was, I find that sometimes it's like, how can we make it as simple as possible? Right? It's like, you have 8 billion people listening to you. What's the one message you can give them? Go, 30 seconds, right? And usually the truth comes out through that. Simple.
It was lovely. And I love that, what you're trying to do. And honestly, I think that your journey, it fits you so well, because I think that your spirit needs peace. Your spirit needs calmness. Not that you don't have moments in your life, but like, just the spirit that you give off, it's not meant for corporate Kelly to be beating you down and taking your freedom. It's not going to work out for them.
No.
Because I'm like, for the peaceful people are the worst people to get mad, because when you're not used to being angry, it comes out. One, it doesn't come out right, but it is so vicious. I'm like,
Yep. I went through all that. I think, yeah, it's interesting. That just like says, I'm just thinking about so many different times where I'm like, I'm very peaceful now, but before I got to the place of peace, I was like feeling all my emotions, and there was anger, there was but I think what's interesting about peace, internal peace for people, is it's so not trendy to be at peace right now, right? It's like, it's trendy to be dramatic and chaotic and dramatic and chaotic and dramatic and chaotic and act like you're on like a reality show. I was just doing a presentation earlier today, and it's like, some of these people act like they're on freaking reality TV, and it's costing you your life, because it's costing you a lot, because those people do not do that show for free. The Kardashians do not do that show for free. They get paid millions of dollars to act that way, and they're acting that way to entertain you. And we think that that's how our life should be, and we should have this drama, and it's going to be like a TV show, and we wish we had a crew there. And it's like, it is so much more like dope to have a day where I hit my head on the pillow and I'm like, damn, I didn't have one thing shake me all day. That was sick, right? That feels so, that to me is a win, coming from a type A, chaotic, reactive to everything. And now I'm like, damn, I just stayed steady Eddie all day. Like that's what people deserve to feel. And so that's what I hope for people, is that they can get on board with the fact that that should be what's trending and popular,
I feel so seen. I feel so seen. Because my husband he'll say to me, he'll watch like a video, and my big thing is, I have not watched the news probably now in 15 years. I don't do that. I'm still worldly. I still know what's happening in the world, because I don't want to be ignorant at all. However, blissful ignorance sometimes is a wonderful thing, because you don't get caught up in the height of emotion. Then you height of the emotion, and spike in my hormones
especially us women. We don't need any more of that.
No, I really don't. I really don't. But I don't do that. And I love peaceful moments. Like, and it doesn't mean that we aren't laughing. It doesn't mean we aren't joking. It doesn't mean that you aren't sad sometimes, but it's allowing yourself to have a steady hormonal balance, because between perimenopause, menopause, estrogen, endometriosis, fibroids, the whole 9 yards, like, right? The inside of our body is like, it is fighting for days.
It is.
It is. And I'm like, when you can have moments in your life where you just get to be human, you just get to be, it makes me feel so I feel elated. I tell people like learning how to express your emotions with new words and different words, it really changes everything. Because you can be like, I'm
I love
happy.
elated.
Like, are you like, but are you joyful? Because sometimes you can be
Mm-hmm.
joyful in the middle of mourning, which is very
Yeah.
different. It's very spiritual, you know. But
Yeah.
elated, they're like, you're about to
Elated.
pop up off the ground. You're like,
Exactly. I'm blowing out of this atmosphere right now. I
you
like
know,
elated. That's a great term. It's a
yes.
great term.
It just I always say like when I feel that way, I always think that's when my inner nerd comes out. Like you talk about all the masking, and we all spend this time trying to be like the cool girl, and I was never the cool girl.
Me either.
It wasn't gonna work out for me.
I wish I always wanted to be the cool girl.
It just wasn't gonna work out for me because all the things that I like were kind of alternative, and I live in a space, you know, being on the East Coast, being popular and being a part of the know is like a culture. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was so a part of the subculture because I'm like, I'm wearing heels in ninth grade, like, and not heels to like make other people look good. It was because I had on like a
Dead.
two-piece suit, or like, you know, or I'm like listening to like rock and punk. Like I'm into grunge, but you can't play that in front of the
Dead.
people who think that you're cool because
So funny. I
that
could totally see you in ninth grade in a suit and heels. That's
I
so
was, and
cute.
my best friend would be like, do you own a pair of jeans? I'm like, I do,
Dead.
but the way my life is set up in my head, I'm getting ready to turn
Hilarious.
into Aubrey Hepburn right now, like Audrey Hepburn. Like
Uh,
I love that Lena Horne. I was into that,
yes.
like be the lady.
Classy,
I wanted to be the
elegant.
lady, you know, because I was
Yes.
like, and it wasn't like a you have to be with me. I'm like, hey, this is in my head. This is
Yep.
in my head.
Your
So like,
vision for your life.
right? And
Yeah.
I always say like, but I've walked that walk my whole life. That am I being too much? Am I in the right space? And then I had to be like, you know what? I'm gonna have to create this space for me, and it's
Yeah.
not for anybody else. But it's
Because no one
really
actually cares.
nobody gives a shit. They
No
don't,
one cares. It's to you.
you know. But
You know?
but trust me, two-piece suit, listening to like grunge and heavy metal, throwing people off.
Cute.
You know,
Cute combo.
it was crazy. Like my husband always laughs. So I'll be like riding down the street in a pickup truck, and then
Hilarious.
like inside you'll hear like Southern rap. They're like, what is happening here? I'm like, you have to be eclectic, people.
That's called paradox. We love a paradox. That's what
You know,
life's
but like
about.
if you just enjoy the things you enjoy, like
Yeah.
you said, nobody cares. Like,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
sometimes you make a friend. Like sometimes people just walk over to me and be like, so what was that song? Like, what?
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yes.
like, I don't know.
Check my phone. That is so good. Yeah, I think it's also most people are waiting for permission of someone else to be their level of weird. And so if you can be extra weird and just embrace it, then people can feel like, oh, I have a little piece of myself in her, right? And I think sharing those things it is the permission for people that, you know, most people aren't leaders. They're waiting for permission to express themselves, to be who they want to be, and to let their freak flag fly. And I think it's the job of leaders, and especially women nowadays, to be that example, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. And right now, women are flying, and
They are.
I am living for the moment. I always tell people I'm not political, but I love great energy. Put me on a boat with energy. I'm going with you all day.
Yes,
I'm like,
yes.
and I love seeing so many different walks of life pull themselves together. Because sometimes we don't pull together for the greater good.
Yeah,
We pull together to like tear people apart,
yeah,
but we don't pull together to be like, oh, well, how can we do this good thing, whatever that thing is? It doesn't matter.
very
But well,
rare.
how can we pull together? And it's hard not to like get pulled into the momentum of like positivity, and the energy is like I always tell people the energy is so yellow and so
Yeah.
light purple. It's like pulling you
Yes.
in, and I love that. But
Yes.
before we get off this call, tell us about your business.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of what I'm doing right now is speaking and getting to speak to different audiences. So, like I shared, I am a spokeswoman for companies like selfpublishing.com, where we do help people self-publish and write their books. So, if anybody's looking for support in that, I can at least direct you in the right place if you're looking to self-publish a book, get support in the writing process. But then on my own, a lot of speaking, and then I'm also currently writing my own book, which is really, really exciting. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll speak on things from sales to leadership to identity deconstruction, a lot of what we talked about today. I think that harmonizing spirituality and business, the masculine and the feminine, is
Mm,
really, really important for men
mm,
and women,
mm.
especially for women with burnout. And so that's a lot of what I talk about, the unbalanced business, if you will, and how can we, I hate using the word balance, but really talking about the two wings of the bird, right? And balancing those out. And then my book that I have coming out, it'll be coming out by the end of 2024 in December, and it's called Becoming Unpretty. And so that book is all about taking off the masks. And again, a lot of what we talked about today, going into the cave, what that process looked like for me. And I always like to, like you said, I share from my direct experience because that's how I learn the best from other people. I don't learn a lot if people are telling me what to do all the time. I learn from their stories. And so a
Mhm.
lot of it is sharing the stories so that people can see what it actually looks like, and the raw vulnerability of what it takes to be willing to deconstruct an identity and what's on the other side for them. So that's a little bit about what I have going on.
She said a little bit. That's a little bit. That's just a little bit,
Just a little bit, not
On
a lot,
Tuesday,
just
I'm
a
just
little
gonna
bit.
take a walk, but every other day I'm flying about. Just, but I love that. I love that you're giving people spaces. I love people, specifically women, who give people safe spaces to explore and expose themselves, because that's not culturally what we are aimed to do. And I do understand, because if you were born in 1940, this world looks crazy to you right now. I am sure. You're like, what do you mean you're a woman living in your own space?
Can you
You're not gonna
imagine?
have any kids. You don't want a dog. There's no man. You have your own
You're
company.
independent.
It's like, what is
Wild.
happening? And it's like, hear me out, mom. Hear me out, grandma. You can do all of these things and still be a woman. I know. I'm so sorry. Like,
Honestly, it's crazy that we've done it. It's crazy.
I feel like we were designed to do that. We make change. That's our
Yeah.
bodies change to bring life into this world,
Yeah.
and our minds change to ignite the world. And I think that
Yeah.
that's the greatest things that we have to offer, just our ingenuity and our attention to detail. Because the
Yes.
details is what change things. Like, the great idea is wonderful, but who's going to do the thing,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ugly work? Who's going to sit there and edit a book? Because this is what we need to talk about. Editing a book will change your life.
That's the thing I'm looking forward to least with my book. The editing process.
Hand it off. Hand it off. Give it to somebody else
Yeah.
to be like, to just tell me what you thought.
I know. I'm like, change it all.
Redline it. Redline it,
Yeah.
because my God.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm gonna do one pass through so it's not embarrassing, and then somebody else can have it. So
Yeah. No, but I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I thoroughly enjoy. I know I keep talking about it, but like, sometimes you go to presentations and you feel so lost and you feel spoken at, not to. And
Yeah.
I think that changes the paradigm so much, because when you feel like somebody was talking to you and we could have been sitting next to each other and had that same conversation. And I think that for me, it's just refreshing, because we're business women. You're always somebody selling something to you. I mean, it feels so fast. You're like, okay,
Yes.
1 second.
Totally. Totally.
And to be
Yes.
a woman, and to also be in a space where you don't have to put on this like macho, this is who I'm gonna sell it to. It's like, okay, we get it. All of us are tired. We all need a nap. We all need a nap.
Yes.
So I
Totally.
appreciate you doing the podcast. I appreciate you coming on to this. I look forward to your book, because I'm a reader.
Yes.
I read a lot.
Oh, good.
Very
Yes, I would be
proud.
happy to send you a copy.
I love it. I love it. I'm just saying, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for what you do
Oh,
and giving us
thank
these
you.
safe spaces.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you are doing a season and that I got the honor of being a guest. I'm like so honored and appreciative and proud of you for diving into yet another season, and just really excited to see what happens for you. I'm honestly so surprised that I just had no idea that you've done all of the work that you've done. Like, it feels like I'm talking to a sister, and I'm grateful for that, because there's very few people who have sat in the fire of transformation and come out the other side. And so I just thank you for doing that work. And I'm so grateful that we could talk about it today.
Thank you. The cave.
Yes, the freaking
We're
cave.
bonded by the cave.
We are. Anybody who's gone in, we get it.
Yep. We will come rescue you if you cannot get out, because you may
We're
need
protecting the cave for you. We're sitting outside of the cave like a lion, protecting it for you.
I love you. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening. Hopefully, I mean, you're in the evening, and hopefully you're not hot.
Oh, I'm a little bit hot. I'm like, you know, it's Miami.
Okay, well, you said hot. Okay, but you have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the podcast. Wasn't that so good? I told y'all, I don't even think I remember to tell you guys what we were supposed to be talking about, because I was so excited to talk to Sydney. But after speaking with Sydney, I feel such a spiritual kinship with her. I feel so connected with who she is and who she's trying to become. And I think that when you are talking about transformation, it doesn't happen without deconstruction, right? It was such a good podcast. It felt more like two sister girlfriends having a conversation versus an interview. I can't wait to see good things with her. And let me say this. She's writing a book, and y'all know I love to read. So I'm just saying, Sydney, make sure you send me that book, because I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. And if you could please like, subscribe, send me a message. What did I say last time? Have a pigeon, send me a message. I love it. Follow us on social media. You can find me at www.lovelyesteem.com, or you can find me on all platforms at lovelyesteem.com. And my name is Lovely, Loveli, and I hope to see you guys soon. Remember, we're learning to articulate our feelings, wants, needs, and desires so that we can better advocate for ourselves and the people that we love. Y'all be good. Bye. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found some healing, connection, and joy. Until next time, bye loves.